action, heart, soul, humor, a lot of YouTube internet spoilers, CGI, climax, character development, and Knuckles. I watched Sonic Movie 2 yesterday. I loved it. So here are my thoughts. What's good, everybody? So yesterday I was able to see Sonic Movie 2 after all this time waiting. And I gotta say, there's just one thing that's on my mind. After all this time we've been anticipating it, I'm actually really sad. We've spent so much time speculating about this movie. We've known about it for at least 2 years. So the build up to it was insane. I've done so many YouTube videos about it. The whole Sonic community has been talking about it. It's really like that moment we've all been waiting for. And it just feels kind of empty, like, yo, it's finally over. I'm actually really sad. It's just a really bittersweet feeling. But that's what makes me feel so grateful that we're getting this Sonic cinematic universe. We still have the Knuckles TV show to look forward to. And obviously, as you guys know, if you're watching this review, if you've been paying attention to any Sonic media, you know that a third Sonic movie is on the way. So I'm pretty sad that the hype for the movie is over, for myself at least. Many people still haven't watched it yet in the US, so you guys still got some time. But let's be optimistic and let's look forward to the future of Sonic, because I think it's very bright. Crazy to think that the backlash over this monstrosity right here really spawned a total redesign, which probably led to the first movie's success, which greenlit all of this. So we have to be optimistic. We have to look forward. This is something that's really been on my mind since I finished watching the second movie. I'm just grateful to be a part of this community. I can't wait to see what's in store for us. So, like I said before, I watched Sonic Movie 2 yesterday, and these are going to be my raw, like, off-the-cuff thoughts. I'm not writing a script. I don't write scripts for my videos. I really want to give you, like, my raw, pure, like, true thoughts about this movie. I was going to do the review yesterday, but I really wanted to sleep on it and make sure that my thoughts were clear, concise. I have not watched anyone else's review. I haven't really seen many people's words about it. So all these thoughts are mine. They're pure. They're genuine. And first things first, like, I'll say this. If you are a Sonic fan, go watch this movie. There's been some mixed reception, mainly from, like, critics, like people who do this for a living. Honestly, it's kind of lame to me. Like, I saw the movie and I really enjoyed it. Some people within the Sonic community are a little mixed about it, but I think the film really did meet my expectations. I will say, like, throughout this movie, I was smiling from cheek to cheek. Like, this movie really did invoke a lot of emotion in me. There's many times where I got the chills. I'm like, yo, this is freaking epic. So I'll say this. The review scores are actually improving, but if you're a Sonic fan, the review should not really impact your thoughts about this movie. Go watch it. I had an awesome time. I had a blast. I actually don't really watch a lot of movies, so this is going to be a very unprofessional review. It's going to be more of a normie human being type review. I'm not going to give you this overly analytical 5-point play about this and that. This is just a guy with a green screen who loves Sonic that's going to tell you his thoughts about his experience about the movie. And I think you guys will find it very relatable. And before I get into things, I'll say this. This is the best video game movie of all time. I'd say well over the majority of people are going to like this movie. It's very faithful to the source material. The CGI is awesome. The action is awesome. You get really invested into these characters, and this is a Sonic the Hedgehog fan service movie. If you love Sonic, I promise you will love this movie. I'm kind of blown away with some of the things we saw in this movie. I honestly wasn't expecting it. There's a tons of twists, tons of turns. And I'll say this about some of the critics. I had a lot of fun with this movie. I don't know if you and I watched the same movie. I'm talking about, like, the Rotten Tomatoes critics. But this movie was dope, and it was definitely 150 million times better than the first movie. There's no doubt about it. It has everything a Sonic fan could ever want. But if not for nothing, if you don't make it to the end of the review, take those words and keep those in mind when you're watching the movie, because it comes out tomorrow. Tomorrow is officially the day. But anyways, let's continue with the review. So we'll get into the plot, and this is going to be a spoiler-free review, so there's going to be absolutely no, like, major spoilers. I'll say the coolest thing about this movie is that, yo, it gets right into it. It picks up right where the first movie left off in terms of the plot. It starts off with Robotnik on the Mushroom Planet and kind of what he's been doing and how he's been surviving after the first movie. Eventually, through his own crazy genius perseverance, he's actually able to meet Knuckles. They find out they have a common enemy, and then it cuts over back to Sonic's world, and it gives us a pretext as to what Sonic has been doing since the end of the first movie. As you guys know, with Sonic's character, he's a very free, heroic, and a bit immature of a character. So basically, since the end of the first movie, Sonic's been really trying to find ways to help people and to be kind of like this hero, but it seems like at first he's not doing it for the right reasons. More so, he's maybe doing it for fame and glory, and more so for the thrill of it. So in the second scene, you're gonna see exactly what I mean. The first scene from the first trailer is what we'll see, and I gotta say, this scene was pretty good. Like, you were thrusted right into the action. I'm not kidding. So obviously, you guys remember the boat scene where Tom is talking to Sonic, telling him he has to use his powers when the time comes, and the time definitely comes by the end of the movie, I'll tell you that. He says something very important to Sonic, which is important to his character development. You guys will find out by the end of the movie when you watch it, but it's something to keep in mind. But after they had that talk, it's a very wholesome moment. moment. So shortly after, Tom and Maddie go to the wedding for the sister. So eventually Sonic will meet Knuckles and Robotnik for the first time when he's home alone. I was actually thoroughly impressed how quickly they get into the action and how quickly the conflict between Sonic, Knuckles, and Robotnik begins. That was one thing I was worried about, like how quickly are they going to get into that? And I will say it happened a lot quicker than I expected. I've seen some people say things about the pacing of the movie. I'm happy we didn't see like this huge, lengthy journey to get back to Earth. I'm happy that Knuckles and Robotnik got there pretty quick. This is when all hell breaks loose, and this is probably like my favorite stretch of the movie. Not too long after, Sonic will meet Tails, and this is definitely the best part of the movie. Like I said, I think it starts off really, really strong. Like the first hour of this movie is definitely insane. A lot of lore from the first movie will actually connect to this one as well. That's one thing I really like about this movie. They didn't just completely disregard the first movie, which is one thing I didn't know how they were going to do. The first movie could have probably ended off where it left off, you know? If they didn't make a Sonic 2 or a Sonic 3 or a Knuckles show, they could have ended the first movie, and I think it would have ended appropriately. But in the post-credit scene where you see Tails, I'm like, yo, how are they going to connect this together? You will definitely see how the first movie ties into this one, which I'm happy they did. And it's going to provide a lot of backstory for Tails and Knuckles and how they tie into Sonic. So you guys are going to enjoy this. So we'll find out what Knuckles and Robotnik's motivation is. And Sonic and Tails basically become best friends, and they set off to stop him. They do a little journey across the world. They're trying to find the Master Emerald, which if it gets into the wrong hands, could end up destroying the world. After some conflict, Knuckles and Robotnik find the location of the Emerald. And once again, it's a race to get to the Emerald. If you saw the second trailer, you'll see Sonic and Tails end up crashing the wedding because it's kind of a life or death situation. Sonic will warn everyone about what's going on. And the wedding scene is a little bit long. It's a little bit drawn out. It does have some significant plot points though that you don't want to miss in it. I don't want to spoil everything, but you're going to like some of the character development with the humans in this scene because this is where the humans really get their most shine. And some critics have said, oh, the humans don't get enough love in this movie, which I don't really care about. But in this scene, you're going to get the most human development that you'll see. After this scene, Sonic will set off to go find the Master Emerald again. Robotnik eventually gets his hands on the Emerald. It's going to set up the final battle, which is probably the coolest part about this movie. And that's basically the plot without spoiling too much. It's actually not that difficult to kind of find out what the plot's going to be. I'd say a lot of the TV spots and a lot of the trailers really do set it up pretty well, but there's definitely some twists and turns along the way. Those I want you guys to find out in the movie. If you haven't seen it yet, it does release in the US tomorrow, and a lot of these plot twists are going to set up a lot of cool stuff. So that's all I have to say about that. So next we'll get into the characters as well. First, we'll start off with Sonic. Obviously, Sonic is amazing in this movie. I love the way Sonic is interpreted in the movie universe. To be honest, I don't think there's really any criticism I could find with this character. I'll actually say his jokes are a lot less cringy than they were in the first movie, and there's definitely a huge sense of like heroicness for him. And the biggest plot development, or like the biggest character development for him in this movie, is that he's trying to go from like immature vigilante into like honorable, respectable, principled hero, and just going from like kid to mature. Like that's something you're gonna want to follow throughout the movie without me giving away too much. Next, we'll go over to Tails, which I really like Tails in this movie. A big criticism I have is I feel like he does take a little bit of a step back. Like he's pretty awesome, and his introduction is really good in this movie. Like when he comes in this movie, you're gonna be in for a huge surprise. When Tails comes in, you're gonna get the chills, you're gonna get the goosebumps, because that's what happened to me. And in the beginning, you're really focusing on a lot of what his character is. Tails is actually very faithful to the games, but he's a lot more heroic than we've seen in the past, like Forces. I think they interpret him faithfully, and I feel like the one criticism I have is they kind of stop midway. Like you learn a little bit about Tails' backstory, you learn a little bit about his emotions, what his motivation is, but it never goes fully all the way. I guess, you know, he is a sidekick, so it's not bad. It's just more of like my nitpicky kind of analysis. I think they do a really good job setting him up in the first half of the movie, and I would say the plot line of Tails' character development falls off a little bit in the middle of the movie, which I think is the weakest part of the movie. I'd say the first hour is amazing, the next 30 minutes is and then the last 30 minutes is like super epic. You're gonna love the last 30 minutes of the movie. But some people have said he takes a major step back. I think he does play a major role in this movie, and you guys will find out what I mean by this. By the end of the movie, you definitely notice a difference between Tails in the first part of the movie and the end. I think they left a few steps out, but it's really a very nitpicky thing. You're gonna love Tails. Tails is very cute, he's adorable, he's wholesome, and he's definitely interpreted a lot more faithfully to how the character should be. Next will be Knuckles, who is the big character that's going to be introduced in this movie. He's the big adversary of Sonic. Knuckles is a very interesting character. Out of all the animal characters, he definitely has the biggest change from the beginning of the movie to the end. And I gotta say, I've said it many times, I was very skeptical about how Idris Elba would play this role because I didn't really like how he sounded in any of the TV spots. But yo, he is very, very good in this movie. He absolutely nailed this role. I was extremely impressed with Idris Elba. He brings a sense of like life to this character. I don't really know how to describe it because like I said, I'm not a movie reviewer. I'm not really like a movie guy. But as a Sonic fan, you're gonna love Idris. With that being said, you see a lot of like internal battles battles with Knuckles throughout the movie. He's not really someone who wavers on his principles. Like, he's all about honor, strength, integrity, and that's something that never really changes at all throughout the movie, but there are some things that he goes through from beginning to end that you guys will definitely be into. In the TV spots, in the trailers, you think he's like this big evil guy. You never really see that throughout the movie. Like, in the trailers and TV spots, I'm like, yo, I want Sonic to beat him so bad. This guy's so evil. But you can see he actually comes from like a more gullible place for why he trusts Robotnik. And I will say he's a lot more humorous than you would expect. Like, he's not serious. He's not all edgy all the time. I think he's actually like a little bit dumber than you would see in like Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2. But they still really nail his character. And this is probably the best and like most important we've ever seen Knuckles in a very long time, which is good because you want to see the main trio be interpreted well. So throughout the movie, you're actually going to like Knuckles. You're never really going to be like, oh, I hate this guy. You're going to feel a lot of sympathy for him. You're going to see his motivation, and you're going to see this internal struggle throughout the movie, which really catalyzes towards the end. And by the end of the movie, he might even be your most favorite character. I'm not kidding. He's really good in this movie. His humor is actually really good as well. Like, he's not trying to do these like corny jokes. Like, his humor is like legitimately like really funny. The last like really main character the movie does a lot of focus on is Robotnik. What I can say about him is this guy has completely lost his mind in this movie. It starts off on the mushroom planet, and he does make it back to Earth, where it seems like he's good. Like, you know, it seems like he's normal. But I can say throughout this movie, he's very diabolical. He's very funny. And by the end of the movie, I think you really see his slow descent into madness, and you really see him become one with like the whole Robotnik kind of thing towards the end. Like, you'll see what I mean. I'll say Jim Carrey is a legend. If this is his last go as Dr. Robotnik, he will not be replaced, and I think the movie said that themselves. It's pretty ambiguous as to what the ending could be for him. It's totally possible he could come back. Also possible that he could be, you know, gone. So he's really good. He's a big highlight of the movie. You're really gonna like him. A lot of critics like him too, because I guess he's Jim Carrey. He's the big A-list Hollywood actor. He's a super big legend. But I really like this character in this movie. Very diabolical, and you definitely want to see this guy get defeated at the end. As far as the rest of the characters in the movie, they play very minor roles. Agent Stone's actually pretty good in this movie. He actually is a lot more evil than I think he is. Like, I thought he was just like the cool sidekick, but in this movie, like, yo, this guy's actually pretty evil too. Tom is really good in this movie. I like Maddie in the movie, and Maddie's sister is awesome in this movie. You guys are gonna love what you see from her. I don't want to spoil too much, but I'll say that the humans definitely do take a backseat, but like I said, it's a Sonic the Hedgehog movie, so I'm not upset that there's a little bit less focus on the human side of things and more so on the character development of the anthro animals. I also want to touch on the humor of the movie. A lot of people have been criticizing it, especially critics themselves, who honestly are just like very lame people. Like, they must not be very fun to hang out with IRL, because I had like a lot of fun with the humor in the movie. I'll say this, I think the humor from Sonic was a lot less cringy than it was in the first movie. Like, in the first movie, some of the jokes were kind of dry. Like, I really thought they were out of place. But in this movie, like, I am an adult, so it's not really like geared towards me, but I had a lot of fun with it, and there were definitely some really funny moments where I'm just like smiling and laughing. Again, I think Knuckles really contributes to this as well. Like, I don't think he's really trying to be funny, but like his character is just hilarious. And there's been this thing about like fart jokes or whatever. You guys gotta grow up. I'm thinking of like journalists sitting there with like a pen and a pad. The second they see one little thing they don't like for like 2 seconds, they like deduct points from it. Like, you guys gotta chill. This is a movie for younger people, but also adults can enjoy this as well. Maybe I have a juvenile sense of humor, but like the 1 or 2 fart jokes in the movie was actually really funny in my opinion. And overall, you're gonna like it. It's lighthearted, it's emotional. Like, there's a lot of like whirlwind of emotions that goes on with this movie, and I really do think the humor is good, or at least it's very charming. So when people talk about the jokes and things like that, don't really take that seriously. If you're going into this movie with an open mind, you're gonna like it. But that's one thing I wanted to address, because a lot of critics are talking about that, but it is funny. The movie theater was laughing. We had good energy in the audience, at least with my showing. It's not gonna ruin the experience if you just need like really serious, like funny Comedy Central level jokes, you know what I'm saying? There's definitely some adult jokes too, like they talk about like drinking and stuff like that. So as an adult or as a kid, you're gonna find the movie funny. You're gonna enjoy it if you are a funny, lighthearted person. And before we get into my final rating and final thoughts, I do want to talk about some of my criticisms about this movie, because yes, I think this is the best video game movie ever. I really loved it. I really enjoyed it. I was really happy while seeing it. There's a couple things that I have to criticize about the movie that I wish could have been a little bit better, but I think there's some limitations and restrictions because, like I said, it's a movie geared for a younger audience, so there's some things they have to include that personally myself I wouldn't want in there. But the biggest thing I would say is a about the middle of the movie, I think it falls off a little bit based off of the momentum the beginning gives you. In the beginning, it's action, it's lore, it's emotional. Like, a lot of stuff is happening at once and it's happening really fast and you really get thrusted right into everything. But in the middle, it falls off a little bit, and there's definitely this one scene, it's like a kind of a dancing scene that I think drags on just a little bit too much longer than it should have. Like, could that scene have been a little bit shorter and devoted a little bit more time to like action, especially for that part of the movie? I would say yes. You know, as like an adult, I'm sitting there watching it like, okay, like I want this to end, I want to see what happens next. I feel like that is one of the parts that really breaks up the pace of the movie. Again, the middle of the movie is a little bit slower than the beginning of the movie. While I don't think this is a major criticism, like, it doesn't ruin the movie, and there's definitely some really good highlights and bright spots of this part. I'd say it's definitely the weakest part. I wish the whole momentum of the beginning was just going throughout the entire thing. But again, very nitpicky, not like a huge deal. And the last thing I'll say is I think the climax of the movie was just like a little bit too short. Again, the final battle is really good. You guys are gonna love it. If you're a Sonic fan, you're in for a very big treat. I think the ending, or like really like the climax, could have been just a little bit longer. Would have liked to seen a little bit more of that struggle, especially because the final battle is really good and it is pretty long. Like, the overall final battle is very long, like the whole scene, and it's very wholesome. Like, it really does give you the chills. Like, you're like, oh my god, this is crazy. But I would have liked to seen a little bit more of the climax, so that part left me a little bit disappointed, although I think it was a really good fan service. Like, we really do see that faithful interpretation of Sonic. So like I said, I don't think the final battle's bad. It is the best part of the movie. I just wish the way it ended, I wish there was just like one more minute of that final battle scene and just a little bit more of a struggle is what I mean. Like, trust me, I'm telling you, this final battle, like the whole entirety of the scene is awesome. I just wish the last little piece of it was a little bit longer, and you'll understand what I mean when the movie comes out. And I would say if there's one thing I could change about the movie, it's probably like that middle 30 minutes, that dancing scene, and I wish the climax could have been just a little bit longer. One thing, honestly, that really ruined it for me too was definitely like the amount of spoilers that were out there. I gotta say, Paramount, you guys really didn't keep this airtight. The whole international release schedule was kind of a joke to me. Like, I don't really know how this works in the back end or the business end, but I feel like that was a huge mistake. And mainly that was for spoiling the post-credit scene, which actually I don't think is that big of a deal. The post-credit scene's a little bit short. Granted, if I was just surprised by that, it would be way cooler. But there's also one other spoiler out there that kind of relates to the end of the movie, which I really was upset that I saw prior. So it kind of makes the movie just a little bit worse for me. But again, if you like watch this blind, this is going to be probably the best thing ever. But just knowing it was coming kind of bothered me a little bit. It's one of the major spoilers, so that's why I won't talk about it. But once you watch the movie, I think you'll know what I'm talking about. And this actually is on Paramount themselves, because this actually was leaked out before the movie. So I really didn't like that. And also, something I really didn't like is how much they revealed in these TV spots. Like, you basically know the entire plot of the movie and the final boss just from watching the TV spots. I would have liked to have like some element of surprise when I'm watching this movie. If I went into this blind without watching a single TV spot or a single commercial or looking at any leaks, this movie might probably get a 10 out of 10 from me. But there's some nitpicky things, and then just like the whole lack of element of surprise really bothered me. Like, I hope next time they don't reveal as much in these commercials and TV spots and trailers. I think by the next movie, if they make enough money, I think the brand name Sonic the Hedgehog will be the draw. Like, you don't have to reveal as much, I think, hopefully, for the next movie. Like, please let there be some surprise, let there be some twists and turns, which there definitely were. It would just hit that much better if we just seen a little bit less in these trailers and TV spots. But other than that, like, really, I think this was a great movie. It's a great watch. Another criticism I had, there's this Sonic and Knuckles fight scene in the movie, amongst many of them that there will be, that I think was just a little bit too short. I won't tell you which one it is, but you guys can guess which one it is if you've already seen the movie or after you've seen it. But there's one Sonic and Knuckles fight scene I think, like, I wish it was just a little bit longer, but it was pretty cool though. It was still an epic scene. Just wanted a little bit more of it. So what are my final thoughts after listening to me speak about it for a little bit? I'll tell you this movie was awesome. I love this movie. It was so wholesome. It invokes so much emotion. There's so much passion. There's heart, there's soul, there's humor. The CGI in this movie is freaking epic. There's some parts where it's a little but it's very few and far in between. The effects look awesome. There's a ton of action. This is a movie that adults, kids, teenagers, older people, everyone who likes Sonic will love this movie. And let's talk about the normies. I think the normies will like this movie too. What do I mean by the normies? I mean people outside of the Sonic fan base. I brought my girl to this movie and she absolutely loved this movie. She cried a little bit. Like, a lot of emotion was invoked in her too. And she is obsessed with it and is waiting for the third Sonic movie, and she's not even a Sonic fan. That's the biggest thing. I think the biggest part about this movie and why it's so special is the fact that us as Sonic fans are going to bring people outside of our world into it. Like, people who are never going to see Sonic, who don't really care about the franchise, are going to see just how special and charming this character is and why he's so important to us. I will say this, my girl said she liked the first movie and the second movie equally, which to me, like, I don't understand how that's as possible. But I guess to her, she's more invested in the emotional part of it. She really likes the wholesome side of it and like the life lessons Sonic gets in it. But like I said before, the Normie thing, the Normie problem, the Normie narrative is what's the most important thing to this movie, and I think what's going to propel Sonic to a new level, because I think some normies are going to become obsessed with Sonic. It's kind of what happened to me in the first movie. Like, I was always a huge Sonic fan. When I was a kid, I was obsessed with Sonic, but I kind of fell off a little bit. I would still play the video games here and there. Like, I would always return to the adventure games. I'd always play Sonic 1 and 2 on mobile, but I wasn't full-blown YouTube content creator until I saw the first movie. It really brought me back into the movie. Someone who was almost like a normie, like someone on the outside looking in. So I hope this movie brings a lot of people back into the franchise. And the most important part of this movie is not that we love it as Sonic fans, which, I mean, maybe it is, but the most important thing is the normies, like the people on the outside looking in, fall in love with the character and hopefully get into the franchise like we did. So final rating, I give this movie an 8 out of 10, probably a 9 out of 10. If I didn't get spoiled, like honestly, this would be the most insane movie ever. Sadly though, I saw so many spoilers, so it didn't quite hit the same. There's just a couple things I wish that could have been changed, but really it doesn't ruin the movie. The point of the movie is not to cater to me 100%. The movie does have to appeal to the general audience, and if you're a Sonic fan, this movie does a lot of fan service. It's faithful to the source material. You're gonna love some of the underlying messages of the movie, how things develop. The action is really good. The actors are really good. Everyone did a great job in this movie. I hope you watch this movie at least 2 or 3 times. Like, let's financially support this movie. Let's hope that we can support the Sonic Cinematic Universe, because I want to see where we can go with this. I want to see what's next for the Sonic franchise and the Sonic Cinematic Universe. This is actually making me really excited for Sonic Prime. Like, Sonic Multimedias can't miss. I love every piece of Sonic Multimedia. This is no exception. So let me know, guys. Do you guys agree with my review? This is pretty much everything you're going to need to know prior to the movie. I tried to keep it as spoiler-free as possible. I think I did a pretty good job of doing that. But let me know your thoughts on the Sonic movie if you've already seen it. And if you watch this review and then you watch the movie after, come back here and let me know if you think I was hitting or missing. Like, let me know what you think about my spoiler-free review. Love to hear your guys' opinions. Love to hear your guys' comments. Like I said before, it's bittersweet that this has to end. Like, I'm very sad about that. We waited so long. We counted down the days, weeks, months, hours. We watched every trailer. We broke them down and we finally watched it. I'm just so sad that this is all ending. The hype cycle is over. It was a wild ride. The Sonic movie has done so much for me, and I'm so happy that we're gonna get more coming. Like I said before, this isn't the end. This is just the beginning. Thank you guys so much for being here for this journey with me. Whether you've already watched the movie or tomorrow will be the first day you watch it or you watch it next week, this is it. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. Sonic fans, take a chance to pat yourself on the back, and I really hope you guys enjoy this movie as much as I did. It really holds a special place in my heart. We have Sonic Movie 3 confirmed. We have the Knuckles series. There's a lot to look forward to. The future is bright. I can't wait to see what's in store for us, but like I said, I got nothing else to say to you guys. Thank you for watching. Until I see you next time, peace out.